I'm joined by our editor-in-chief, Yanni Momberg. We're going to discuss our top 3 newsworthy viral videos for 2013. The first one we're going to talk about today is cell phone footage from the Westgate Mall attacks. Yanni, do you remember about when you heard this story for the first time?
Yes, it was early September, and like most things around here at News24, we found out about stuff either via the wires,
Right.
on TV, social channels, or someone phones us. This is a major international incident, probably the main international incident of the year. So yeah, I was at the office when the news came through, and we all knew immediately this was going to be a big story.
Well, let's take a look at the video. I'm just going to press play here. So this is the cell phone footage. It has over 5 million views. Now, millions of people have watched this video all over the world. Why do you think this specific video went viral? It's just the cell phone footage from the attack.
I think it's probably it's difficult sometimes to explain why a video becomes viral. This one I don't think is that difficult. Number one, it was a major international story. A terrorist attack on a soft target, a mall in Nairobi in Kenya. It is something that people would think it can happen anywhere, right? So if I go to my local mall, could this happen? Number one. So it was a big story in that sense. Secondly, when this video came out, the story was still ongoing. In other words, this happened on, if I recall, on the second or the third day. And this whole event played out over 3-4 days. So at the time, people still thought Al-Shabaab terrorists were inside the mall. And so it was a big news story. And then suddenly this video came out and said, here's footage from inside the mall. Evidently, everyone's going to click because it's got high news value, people are curious, people are concerned, all those elements.
You touched on some of the feelings that this video would bring up for just your everyday person watching the video. What are some of the issues that this video kind of brought to light for people in South Africa?
Look, I don't think it's an exclusive South African thing. As I said, it could happen anywhere. You know, this kind of thing has happened in India before. There's been many terrorist attacks in recent years in London. South Africa has been spared this type of attack for a number of years, but it ultimately does make you feel if you live in Johannesburg, if you go to the mall in Sandton or in Cape Town to the waterfront, types of malls where lots of tourists go to. And I would imagine worldwide these are kind of targets. So it makes the whole experience personal. And I think that's why you know, people are concerned or interested.
And do you think these are issues that we're going to carry forward to 2014?
I do. Look worldwide. There's certain hotspots. So they, you know, I mentioned London. London is an ongoing, I would call it, I would say, a hotspot. This part of East Africa, where there's been issues in Somalia and it's spilled over into Kenya. You also have issues in West Africa, in Nigeria, in the northern part of the country. And I mean, there's many regions in the world. So, I mean, this is something probably will be with us for many years still.
I just want to ask you more of a personal question. Seeing something like this, does this make you live your life any differently?
No. Look, I lived in Cape Town in the late 90s when there was the Pagad bombings, and a couple of places I visited either the day before or regularly, on a regular basis. Actually, there were pipe bombs going off at the time. It's a strange thing, and even then, we didn't really change the way you know you lived your life. So this is a bit further removed, but if I reflect back, we still went to the shops, we still went to the clubs, we still went to wherever. And I've lived in London at the time when the IRA was still bombing London on a regular basis, and at the time people just went out with their day. With their normal working day, because the nature of these kind of things is you never know where it would happen,
Right.
or when, where, what kind of thing. So in essence, for you to function normally, you have to carry on.
Life goes on. We're going to touch on our second viral video. It's restaurant footage of a young girl stealing an iPhone from one of the restaurant visitors. Let's take a look. Just see it here. Yanni, I think when people saw this, they were shocked that a child that young could take part in a crime of that nature. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's true. Look, I think this is one of those. I mean, whenever a child is involved in any kind of thing that's immoral or criminal, you know, it is kind of shocking. I suppose this is one of those water cooler type moments where you say to someone, "Have you seen this? You know, have you seen that kind of thing?" So yeah, that was the initial reaction.
Well, it raised a lot of issues around parenting when this video first came out. I remember watching it in the office and speaking to our parenting editor about it. What do you have to say? You're a parent yourself. What are your thoughts on this young girl kind of taking part in behavior like this? Do you think it's going to affect her in life?
Well, I don't know. Look, it's kind of sad. Look, I also don't think you can look at one video and then generalize about people generally, or children generally, or parenting. This particular example, it is. I mean, for me, it's almost more sad than shocking, because you know I'm not that surprised by people, after all. But it is sad because I mean, I have kids roughly that age, and at that age, you know, you still have that innocence about you.
Very impressionable.
Yeah. And if in the world we live in, you know, this kid will probably see this video 5-10 years down the line, because it'll always be out there now, and you know, you can't actually see her face, but you can obviously see the other people's faces.
And now we're going to talk about our third and final viral newsworthy video of 2013. It is the dashboard cam footage of the Pinetown crash. Let's take a look. Yanni, that video still gives me shivers. I remember the almost infamous Pinetown crash. What were your thoughts when you first saw this?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think of the three videos, this is the most shocking one, because it's so sudden, it's so close, and you can see yourself sitting in this car.
Exactly.
So the first reaction was the same, and I think one of the reasons why this video was so-called popular, people probably watched it quite a number of times, as to actually, is this really what I'm seeing? Yeah, so this is, I mean, I must say, this is the most shocking video that I've seen in a while.
Well, this video and story raised a lot of concerns as to whether the driver had his license or not, whether he was qualified to be on the road, and then opened up the gates to a wider story about people being licensed who are driving these larger vehicles. what are some of the discussions that took place after this crash happened in the news?
Look, so you've touched on it. I think there's obviously the personal element to it, because a number of people lost their lives, innocent people. That's the first part of it. The second part is the larger discussion around law enforcement, around there are certain rules in place. Are these rules being enforced? South Africa is a country which is notorious for its road deaths, and you know it's an. I mean, we're just talking now just before Christmas again, and every time this time of the year we have the same discussions, and there's almost you know, so many people died this year or next year or the previous year, and it doesn't seem to be changing. And this type of incident, I think, plays into that narrative. The narrative of, you know, are people sticking to the rules? Are the authorities, the provincial, the local authorities, are they enforcing to make sure that these big heavy trucks, or whether it's buses, because there's bus accidents or there's truck accidents, I mean, these happen continuously. And most of the time when these accidents happen, whether it's a bus accident, the vehicle has not been roadworthy, or the driver hasn't been properly licensed or properly trained, or has been driving for an extended period of time. And it all speaks into, you know, around the issue of enforcing the law and sticking to the rules. And that was the wider discussion.
Have you seen any changes since this came out and since this brought shone a lot of light on the topic?
Well, I would like to say yes, but I mean, this only happened in September. So, I mean, all three of these videos, for some reason, are all from September. I don't know what it is about September. So, and we're in December now. So there's nothing. I mean, I do think this type of incident, and especially because it is so visually available, has the potential to impact. We've had many horrendous crashes in this country over a number of years, and you know, after a week or two, the issue kind of goes away. Where this incident, there's different angles of this crash as well. So hopefully it would have an impact.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Pleasure.
Although 2013 saw many videos on the internet, it was these 3 videos captured in spontaneity and some even in secrecy that stuck with us. Let's wait and see what 2014 has in store.